Hey guys, it's Mike here, Grinding Gears Garage. We're getting ready to do a little porting video on our LT250R. This is a early LT250R, 85 to 86 is the years. As you can see, there is no external reed cage. It's internal to the motor, and the exhaust port's a little bit different as well. So we're going to be working on this today. We're mainly going to be focusing on the exhaust port and the transfer ports. As you can see here, let me grab a pen real quick. As you can see, where the transfer ports meet the sleeve, there's a lip right here and right here. This is bad because the fuel is going to be coming from underneath here, from this area here, which is the crankcase, and it's going to be going through these ports and going through these transfer ports here on top of the engine, on top of the piston, I mean. And there's a lot of material right here. I mean, look at all this. This is a huge, it's like an 1/8 inch of material that the fuel's going to hit and tumble. And there's these rough casting marks down in there. And then there's some more along this side. So our prime goal today is to be smoothing this out as much as possible. This side's the same way. There's a good lip here, and we're going to be cleaning that up. And then for the exhaust port, we mainly want to polish this. As you can see, there's some rough, let's see if I can stand this up. There's some rough casting marks on the side there and on the side here. And you want to get this as shiny and as smooth as possible. The more polished an exhaust port, the better. So there isn't a whole lot that needs to be done on the intake side, thankfully. But we're going to pop our reed cage out and take a look underneath and see how it looks. So we're going to set up the tripod and remove our reed cage. So we popped our reed cage off so when we're porting we don't get any material down in there, but it looks pretty clean. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of casting flaws, thankfully, because that's a pretty tight space to get into. So pretty much this video is going to be focused on the transfer ports, blending these in. We're going to try our best to actually blend these into the sleeve somewhat. You don't want to take too much material out of your sleeve, but you also want to make sure that these are blended nicely here. Get rid of all this. There's a big booger right there that we want to get rid of. So we're going to set up. We're going to go over some of the tools that we have that we use to blend all this together. So let's get set up, get our air compressor going, and we'll be right back with the tools needed. So some of the things that we use to do our porting and polishing, we have this little 1/8 inch micro die grinder. Variable speed. We picked it up off of Amazon for like $100. Works great. The next investment we're going to buy is a right angle 1/8 inch. They're really expensive. They're like $300-400. It's to more get into the actual parts of the transfer ports where it's in the bore. We have these bluestone grinding bits. We have these small ones and then these larger ones. We use these to really polish. That's a step between our tungsten bits and our polishing, which we use this kit and some sheets of sandpaper that we have. So we use our die grinder. These are our tungsten carbide. We bought a cheaper set. We're going to invest in some really nice ones here eventually that stay sharp. We have our bluestones and then this polishing kit that we use. There are sandpaper rolls. If I can get it open. Set the camera down. There we go. There's sandpaper rolls, different grits, different lengths. That's 80 and 120. And then once we're done with that, we have sheets of sandpaper, which I don't know where they went, but they are, we go up to 1,000. I got to figure out where I put them. But we have, I think it's 400, 600, 800, and then 1,000. We have 4 sheets that we just tear little bits off, and we'll show you the bit that we made. I got to find it. I got to figure out where I put all that. But we took a drill bit, cut it down, cut a slit in it, and then that's where we put the sandpaper in to get our polish. We'll show you guys all that when we get to that point. So we're going to set everything up in the vise, and we're going to start working on blending our transfer ports. So one thing we forgot to mention, eye protection. It's the most important thing. I don't care how manly you are, get a piece of metal in your eye, it's going to make you cry like a little girl. Not fun, not what we like to see. So we have our die grinder all set up here. We're going to start blending our transfer ports, we just have a cone-shaped bit in our die grinder. So we're going to start slowly. That's the key to this, slow. You don't need to be in a rush, take more material than you need. It's all about going real slow and just cleaning it up. Nice thing about this die grinder, it's adjustable for speed. So we like to keep it slow. These 1/8" bits, you get them real fast, they tend to wobble and break, and you definitely don't want them flying at you full speed. So we start off real slow and adjust it up as we put load on it. So we just tackled one side real quick. You can see the casting marks in there originally. That's blended, smoothed out. We are going to reposition and start blending in this lip right here and the rest of this port. One thing that's kind of useful to have by is like some brake clean or anything just to really wash out the chips so you can see where you're going next with the die grinder. You get a ton of chips in there, you start losing track. One thing you do want to make sure once you're done with this is we're going to soak in parts washer and clean all the gunk out of here. So we're going to town here. As you can hear, if you just listen to the pen, this is the untouched transfer port. This is the one we cleaned up. If you listen to this one, there's a few spots we got to hit yet, but as you can hear, there's a couple spots yet we got to touch up, but it's pretty much a seamless transition. There's obviously a very, you're not going to be able to get this 100% seamless, but it's a lot better than it was. We got to get one of our small bits and get in this crevice right here and clean all this up. But that's pretty much the principle, is you want to smooth out this transition as much as possible. Makes the airflow a lot better. If you don't, the air is going to hit that lip, it's going to tumble, and it's not going to flow seamlessly into the chamber when it's ready for the compression stroke. So we're going to continue cleaning up this side, and we're going to show you guys kind of a before and after with comparing it to this side over here to the finished side. So we got both of these cleaned up pretty nicely. As you can see, there's no real lips anymore. The pen kind of glides over real smooth. So this is what it looked like before. You can see the big chunks right there. It's like a 1/16 of material we took out on the one port. But you can see the difference there and here. So the next step after we finish this side here is we're going to grab some of our bluestones. We're probably going to use these smaller ones, get in there a little bit better. And we're going to smooth this out the best that we can. Sometimes when you get down here with the die grinder, you get little lips and valleys from using the tip because of the way that the wall is curved and shaped. So we're going to use that bluestone to smooth everything out so it's nice and uniform. We don't polish these ports because you want them to atomize the fuel in the air. You don't want them super smooth. So we're just going to go through, we're going to finish up this side here, and we'll show you guys what we do with the bluestone polishing bits. So we have both sets of transfer ports cleaned up. We now have a bluestone in our grinder. We're going to get set up here and go ahead and start on cleaning up our die grinding. Do a little camera repositioning here. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and start. The only downside to these blue stones is they build up with aluminum. We have a wheel dresser somewhere. I gotta find it. It's meant for grinding wheels, dressing the wheel, cleaning up the aluminum. So we're gonna find that and continue to polish up the port. If we can't find it, I'm just gonna skip ahead and just use the sanding discs to, not the sanding discs, the sanding rolls to get down in here and clean up. It'll accomplish the same thing. We're gonna stick with 80 grit just to polish everything up. And then we're gonna move on to polishing our exhaust port. So we broke out our 1/4-inch die grinder. The mandrels that we have for our sanding kit don't fit in our 1/8-inch die grinder. So this is our unsanded or unsmoothed port job, and then this is our cleaned up, smoothed out. It's a completely night and day finish between the two. They're real smooth. So that's that. We're gonna polish up this other one, show you guys the finished product, and then we're gonna move on to cleaning up our exhaust port, polishing that. So now we're on to the exhaust port. Ignore the RTV here. This is from our leak down test earlier. Get that off of there. So there's some casting marks in here that we're gonna try and get out. We're gonna start out with our die grinder and some tungsten bits. But we're pretty much only gonna focus the tungsten on the sides here where the casting marks are. Now, the most important part with doing the exhaust port is you don't go too far in. Grab a flashlight here. Because what's going to happen is you go too far in there, you're actually going to get into the sleeve and you're going to mess with the chamfer of the sleeve in the bore of the cylinder, which could lead to problems. But pretty much we're cleaning up all that gunk right there, and you want to polish this bad boy as smooth as you can get it. And that's where the 1000 grit sandpaper is going to come in eventually. I still have to find it actually, but when we get to that point, we'll show you guys how to get this bad boy super smooth. We're actually going to do some of it by hand. We're going to wet sand and try and polish it up as much as we can. We also popped the seal out of our exhaust. Gives a little extra room in here, so we're not quite dragging against it or anything. So we cleaned up that casting. There were some casting marks down here we cleaned up as well. So we're ready to go ahead and polish. We have our sanding roll on our mandrel and our 1/4-inch die grinder. We went with an 80 grit to start. We're going to go 80 to 120, and then we have some 320 sandpaper, which we're going to wet sand, then 320, 600, 800, then 1000, I believe how it is. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to polish this up once with the 80. We're going to show you guys the progression through each step of sanding. So that's 80. We're down to 80 grit. We're going to load up our mandrel with a 120 and go ahead and go through and polish her some more. So we're done with the 120. As you can see, she's nice and polished. So now we're going to move on to the wet sanding aspect. So we have this little dish here with water. We have another cup full of water over there. What we're going to do is we're going to wet sand this to 400, 600, then we have 1500 as our final grit. We have this cup here. We're going to dump this out every time we're done to get a fresh cup of water. So when we start with our next grit, we're clean. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to wet sand this and show you guys the progression. It's not going to look per se any smoother, but you're going to be able to feel the difference when you do it yourself. So we got the 450 done. It's starting to feel super smooth, super happy about it. We're on to the 600 grit, got a fresh cup of water. So we're going to go ahead and wet sand. So we got our 600 done. It's feeling great. Normally we go to 1000 and then 1500. Our local hardware store is out of 1000, so we're just going to go to right to 1500. Just have to do a little bit more elbow grease, that's all. So we're going to go ahead and sand, fresh cup of water every time, and we'll be all finished up. So we did our 1500. She's all nice and smooth now. She's fantastic. It's going to be a nice running quad, a nice running engine. Whoever buys this motor is going to have a great top end in it. It's going to be fantastic. Now, one step you need to make sure you do is now clean out your top end. There is a giant clump of metal shavings in our top end. So what we have a parts washer at my job, so I'm going to take it to work, wash it out. But we also have a tub of parts washer here in our shop. So I'm going to clean it out here and then take it to work and just give it a final bath. So make sure you clean it out. It's definitely not good enough to just slap right back on your four-wheeler and rock and roll. It's full of metal shavings. It needs to be cleaned out. So thanks for watching, guys. Once again, it's Grinding Gears Garage. We're working on an early LT250r. We're going to be doing same thing to 88 and up LT250r engine here next. So thanks for watching. We have a video that should be uploaded, if not now, soon, for a seal rebuild on an LT250r, the same engine this top end came off of. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, subscribe. Check out our Facebook page. The link is in the description below. And shoot us any questions and let us know what you need. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.